Okay, hello everyone. How is everyone doing? So, I know I am supposed to be the host and I'm not used to hosting Zooms. So this is like a free chat for us. I know this session is about breaking to a new market. So I'm very excited you guys are all here. Please feel free to, don't be shy, open your camera and so we can, connect and get to know each other. So for some of you, maybe you don't know, I'm Maya, Selling Sunset, and I joined Compass in June. So it's been like 5-6 months at this point, and I love it. Thank you, Tiffany. So you see me, everything is good, right? We were trying to figure out the Zoom before. I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyways, so this session is about basically how to break to a new market. And we talk about a couple of things with real estate because I know everybody are in a different market, different cities. Some of you are more experienced than other. So I do kind of want it to be like an open chat. So whenever you have a question, I want you to unmute yourself and introduce yourself because this is also a way for us to get to know each other and obviously network with each other. And I want you to ask the questions because based on that, I will, be more than happy to help and get you my advice and, at least for my experience. I've been doing real estate for 10 years and I started in LA. And LA is a different market. And then I moved and finally I got to do, business in consistent way in LA. And then we relocated to Miami. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a new city. I had to learn everything from literally scratch. And that was before the show was even out. Because once I relocated to Miami, the show got picked up and then I had to do the traveling. But I moved to Miami, knew zero person, like literally knew nobody. And I had to figure out like, what do I do? So I signed up, I kept my license in LA in California. And I just decided to obviously get my Florida license because I love real estate and I wouldn't just going to give up my real estate career in Miami. And I got my license. And then I had to figure things out because it's a completely different market, especially 5-6 years ago. Miami was not as booming and crazy as now. And this chat is about basically like, what am I doing? What was I doing? And people assume the show will, give you so many clients and leads, but that's really not the case, especially in my case. Oh, sorry, it's called Selling Sunset. Shame on you. I'm kidding. It's drama. It's less real estate. It's more drama. So I can't blame you. It's on Netflix. So people assume because of the show, I get all this crazy business, but it's really not the case. Especially in my situation, people assume I'm like LA, Miami, where is she? Nobody really knows. But I am in Miami full time and I've been here full time. So what do I do? How do I get, the business going? Like I got the license, great. Now what? The license part is easy, if you study, it's easy. You can go, you can get it in, like your license after your first test if you study. So what I did is, thankfully I had a couple of sales, obviously from LA, and I managed to save some money. And I decided to do Zillow in Miami, and I just purchased a zip code, and that's how I started in Miami. So I know a lot of you maybe try Zillow or Realtor.com or Trulia back then. And with leads, with online leads, it's very difficult because, as you know, a lot of the leads are, excuse me for my language, crap. But the key with those leads is consistency and follow up. Because I can tell you, I just closed like another transaction with a lead from Zillow from like 3.5 years ago that I totally forgot about. I did put him on my CRM and he was on my email blast. But, I took him out to see properties right when I moved. And they never bought anything. And it was on my database. And then he reached out when he was ready to buy and he bought already 3 places. So with leads, you never know. What zip code? Yeah, so I moved to Brickell with my husband. Brickell is a small city in Miami. It's kind of like downtown Miami area. And I lived in a building. And I'm like, okay, this is the area where I live. Let me just focus on that zip code. So that's how I chose the zip code. And what I did is, because all these buildings in Miami, if you look online, they all look the same. You see the view, they all look the same. It's very confusing. So I went every day, and I just study the billing, the amenities. I try to get the HOA regulation, how much you can, the rental regulation, is it 6 months, is it pet friendly, and stuff, just basic knowledge about the billing. So when someone calls me from Zillow and asks me, hey, I want to buy a unit in whatever, the SLS Brickell, I can tell him, oh, you know what, I live there, I like it, or I did a rental there, the elevators are slow, but the pool is amazing. So you sound like you really know your stuff. You kind of like have to fake it till you make it. You have to have the knowledge, you have to learn. So I learned those buildings in that little pocket. And then slowly I merged to like downtown and midtown and kind of like explore the farther location from Brickell. And learn the buildings, like every week I just went into couple of, days out of the week, the buildings, just to know, the gym, the pool and all that. So when clients are calling, I will sound like I lived here forever. They don't need to know. So that was my first start in Miami, like online leads. That's what I did. And slowly I just started building my database, and the price points are different. I'm used to sell, minimum 1.5, 2 million in LA. And all of a sudden I'm talking about $400,000 condo. So it is a big difference, but those clients are buying maybe one condo, two condos, maybe they will refer you a friend, and eventually 2-3 years later, they will sell the unit and probably buy something bigger. So it's all about building your connection and database, and don't underestimate a client. I did a lease 3 years ago for $3,000 in Miami, and now they're ready to buy, and they want to buy for like 4 million. So you just never know where your next deal is coming. And I feel like you have to hustle and work hard. And with me in the beginning, again, that was pre-Netflix, pre-TV show. That's what I was doing in Miami. So I just learned the market very well, price per square foot, and got the online leads. That was in Miami. Now, when I started in LA, that was also a new market for me. And, when you don't have money to invest in online leads because it's expensive, or in marketing, frankly, because as you know, when you start the business, even if you're not starting the business and you've been doing it for a while, it's expensive to spend money on marketing and mailers and all that. So my free stuff back then was like open houses. So I did a lot of open houses, and I highly recommend doing those to get to know the location. You never know who is walking to the open house, maybe a seller, another potential buyer. So I highly recommend doing open houses also in a market. And people ask me, how do you tap into luxury? Sit where the expensive houses are. That's very easy. Go do an open house for an agent in your team or in your company, and just get to know the area. So that's another way for me to break into the business. Open houses, that is free, right? Open houses and networking. And then obviously once you have the money and you close a deal, then spend the money on marketing. And whether if it's online leads, a lot of agents do mailers, but you have to be very consistent with the mailers. So you have to have a specific maybe list or niche, so you can focus on where to send and what to send. You don't want to be all over the place. In Miami, for instance, if someone wants to buy something up north in Broward County, which is like about an hour and a half from where I live, I rather refer them the business. Like, I'm not trying to be everywhere. I rather focus on an area that I can sound knowledgeable, that I understand the market, that I understand price per square foot, versus just be all over the place. And even now, I mean, I'm trying to do very little in LA. Like, yeah, I keep my license active and everything, and I know LA well, but I don't want to be all over the place. You don't want to be the jack of all trades. You really want to focus. And so that's one way. So that's how I started in my business here, basically with online leads. And there are other ways to do online leads that are cheaper. You can do Google, that's much cheaper. You get way more leads, but the quality is less, I would say less. But all you need is one, and then you cover your expenses. And it's all about following up. To be one of your early referral. Oh, thank you, Adriana. Yeah, and I love Calabasas, by the way. So, that's just kind of like the start, but I really want to go into question, guys, because I'm sure you guys all have questions, and I just wanted to be an open chat versus me just talking for an hour, because I want to know what you have in mind, and let's take it from there. So I'm going to try to see if I can see all of you guys, or at least some of you. Okay, now it's much better. So who wants to unmute themselves and introduce themselves and ask the question?
It looks like Rachel had a question in the chat, Maya. I'm seeing Rachel.
Okay. Oh.
Rachel, you're welcome to unmute yourself, or you can just respond to her chat in the comments.
Yeah,
Hi, Rachel.
I moved to Boise a year ago, and I basically, this year I'm trying to figure out where I should focus my, energy. And so last year was like 50% Compass referrals, but then, the rest was like my sister's sphere because she lives here. And I've looked at purchasing Zillow leads, but like what online programs are you using to buy leads? And like how do you determine your budget? Obviously, like being in a new place, you're going to spend X amount on leads for what return? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a great question because look, Zillow, at least where I am, and I'm sure where you guys are, it's not cheap. Like I pay a couple of $1,000s a month for Zillow. I started with Zillow with a very little budget, and then I saw that I'm closing the leads, and a lot of them are serious, a lot of them are not. Obviously, you cannot convert all the leads, like it's not perfect. But I have a decent conversion with Zillow leads, so I don't like to give up that zip code, even though it's a lower price point. It's kind of like my bread and butter. And then I tried Sync, which is on Google. It's a platform. They build your whole, I have a separate website, my professional myavander.com website, but it doesn't generate me the leads. So with Google, whether if you do a company like Sync or different companies that kind of like, you buy keywords and it's much cheaper. It's about 1,000 a month. Maybe every zip code and area is a little bit different. Maybe it will be 500 a month. They build your whole CRM system technically. Now, I personally love to use Compass CRM. So I just want the leads. I just want the phone number and the email and the contact. And then I move them to the Compass CRM and I call them myself and all that. But I give you an example. I have like 300 leads over there, and I'm lucky if I'll close 2 out of the 300, which is a very low conversion. But a lot of them don't leave you the right phone number and all that. But if I close a lead and he's going to buy it and I get the commission, let's say for $50,000, and it costs me like 10,000 a year or 12,000 a year, then that already makes sense for me. But you got to try. And I feel like the things with all these like online leads or even mailers and everything that we do, you really have to put the time. Like we can't just send 2 months of postcards and that's it and expect that people will call us right away. I do also mailers to a single family area because I moved from the area I mentioned earlier, Brickell. Now I'm in a single family home. I have the kids, so I really try to focus on where I live because I know the area, I know the schools, I feel like I can sell on the area and I'm confident about talking about the area. So I try to do mailers to that specific location. I didn't get results yet, but for me, it's also about brand awareness. I would assume some people that see my mail watch Selling Sunset, so like, oh, she's in Miami, and eventually maybe I will be in their mind to purchase or sell their house. So for me, and the mailers, again, the mailers haven't seen any result. With Zillow, I just run the numbers, and it just makes sense for me financially to keep spending the money. The mailers, yeah. So it's interesting. Even me, like I've been doing real estate for 10 years. I'm just seeing the question on the chat. Only now, like last year, literally like 12 months ago, I decided to form my team in Miami because I knew I'm not going to do the show and I'm not going to be doing the traveling back and forth. And I'm going to be focusing, and I obviously joined Compass. So that's when I'm like, this is my time to brand myself and really go full force with my Avander group in Miami. I'm not all over the place. I'm not flying every week coast to coast. And I think that's very important. And so although I was in Miami before the show, I couldn't really focus on doing much here because I was traveling so much. So now when I'm here, and I managed to close pretty good amount of transaction, even though I was back and forth, thank God. But only last year, I decided to work on my brand, my logo, which I highly recommend you guys don't wait 10 years for that. In LA, I was with Jason Oppenheim, so I was under the Oppenheim group, and it was never me. And I think it's very important to brand yourself at some point. Maybe get some experience with a team first and have a couple of transactions, in order to go and do it your own, but really focus on the brand and logo. So when people see you, they will like, oh, I remember the brand and the logo and all that. So only last year I decided to do that. So the mailers I just started to send consistently about 3 months ago. Now I don't want to go crazy and send every month because it costs a lot of money. So I try to do like every 2 months or every 3 months. I did one in November for Thanksgiving. I did one in December, and I did one, and I'm going to do one in February. I'm going to let people rest from the new year and not, get, barbarian with all these mail that agents send. Like you want to sell right after the new year. So I'll send one in February. My mailers are about 3 pages. Listings or transactions that I've done. A little bit pictures, whatever, selling sunset brands. So people will put, my face and think together. And some information, events in the location. And what else? I actually use Leonard's email. I love his emails. I read it. I highly recommend read it every morning. If you want to sound so smart, just read Leonard's email. He's doing all the job for us. So I read his emails every morning, and I use a couple of these quotes, not a lot. In the mailers, just this is the market, this is what's going on, and blah, 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 in the mailers or in the email blast if you choose to do that. And that's how my mailer look like. But yeah, every 2 months I do those. I also, another way to break into the market, if you had a couple of transactions, maybe not a lot, I do recommend the CMA a day that maybe some of you heard about it from Sky Michaels. Meaning you basically customize a market analysis for the client that you already did a transaction for and send it to them, either mail it to them or email it to them with whatever, a nice PDF. It's very easy to make it in the Compass website, super easy. And I'm not a marketing person by any means, but it just shows you, it shows the client that you're thinking about them and you just want to say hi and look, and obviously send them the best comps so they know that they got a good deal from you. So I do that. And just to keep in people's mind, it's very important to stay in touch with people. But in terms of given you just moved, the sphere of influence of your sister, whether if you have a dog, whether if you have a kid through the school or hobbies, those are all good organic ways to meet people without telling them I'm a real estate agent, buy or sell through me. I think networking is very important. I used to do a lot of networking when I started, at least in LA, a lot, every event, everything. I was just there giving my business cards. But then, I got married and I have kids. So it's I barely can stay awake until 9:30 p.m. So no more of that. And I need to get back to that because that's one of my stuff until 2023. One network event a week. I don't care what it is, but I try to maybe network more with the parents in my school, in my kids' school. That's another way for me to meet, parents in an organic way without telling them that, use me as a real estate agent and without being too pushy. So there are a couple of ways, whether if it's your pet, your, hobbies that maybe you play tennis or golf or whatever, to meet people in an organic way and just kind of casually talk about the market because everybody want to listen and talk about real estate. That's never going to be an old topic. Everybody wants to know what's going on with 2023 with the rates. I spoke with Chirag. I met him in Miami, and I told him, how do I get more listings? What do I need to do? And he's like, do events. So events is another thing that I want to do to get to know people. Again, it costs money, so I'm trying to figure out something that's not going to be too crazy for me, to get to know people in an organic way and kind of do something for the community. So that's another thing. But yeah, well, let's go ahead and open for some more questions. Again, if you type it in the chat, please free to unmute yourself because then I have to read the chat and see who asks questions. So yeah, Vicky, I see that you're unmuted. Hi.
Hi, I just joined Compass in June as well, and I've been in real estate for about 17 years here in the Kansas City area. So we're just new here, but we're doing really great. And I wasn't able to come to the retreat, but I wanted to try to start connecting with other agents across the United States to get referrals and to give referrals. So I didn't know what was the best way about doing that in your opinion.
Yeah, and that's, I went to the retreat too, and I got a lot of business cards and emails, but it's very hard to keep up, with everyone. So I think staying in touch and staying in people's mind is very important. Maybe connect with them once every month and just send an email and remind them that you are in Kansas City, so people will not forget about you, because I get a lot of emails, but I'm like, who am I going to refer to? Like, I just got a referral in Brooklyn. I'm like, oh, I met this guy, like I know him, like, but he was on my mind. Like, I see him on IG, like he's always like there. So I remember that he does, business in Brooklyn. But it's very important to just also be on social media. Wait, you're on mute, so I can't hear you, Vicky. Wait, unmute yourself. Yeah.
I wasn't able to go to the retreat, so I haven't met agents across the United States. So my question to you is, how do I go about branching out and connecting with agents in other parts of the United States for referrals?
Yeah, so Compass has also kind of like the Facebook, of Compass, that you go on the feed. It's almost like a Facebook thing that you can just put your information out there on the feed. Your manager should be able to show you. That's another way for you to market yourself. Compass also has, in the app or whatever, if you go to the website, just a list of agents everywhere. You can really get everyone's email online and just start sending them an email. I don't know if you want to email blast other agents, to be honest. I mean, you don't want to send them like, hey, just listed in Kansas when you're, although then people will remember that you are there. So it's up to you. That's a personal decision. But I think the Facebook Compass, that's a great way, because there are a lot of groups there. Try that. Yeah, Workspace. Thank you. Thank you so much, Aaron. I'm like, wait, what's the name? Like, I call it the Facebook of Compass, Workspace. But that's a great way, I feel like, to connect with agents. Besides, if you just want to take their personal email and just send them an email, but it's so many agents. So, and social media, of course, because if you click on tags and all that, you can see Compass and all that. So that's another way to connect with agents on social media. Because that's another thing we didn't really talk about. It's really the referrals. It's a huge business. People are relocating from one place to another all the time. Yeah, meeting agent here, exactly. That's why we're networking. We're doing all this coaching, and you get to know people. So the referral business is also a great business. I mean, I want to send like emails to agents in like the Northeast and California that they know I'm in Miami, and hopefully they will refer me some business. And that's just another thing that I'm working on as well for 2023, just to connect with more agents through Compass. It's actually part of the reason I left where I am. And, in LA I was with Jason, and Jason, we have 6 agents. It doesn't really do much for me. So yeah.
Maya, just to be mindful, we have about 5 minutes unless anyone's willing to go overtime with Maya, but I know David, Zach, and Emma have had their hands raised.
Let's do it, yeah.
Any of you can unmute. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, thank you so much again for being here, sharing your experience. How long before? So I'm in the Philly market, so I'm licensed in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, which is easier for me to do business in both places, just because it's not too far away. So I've been in the Philly market for about 1.5 years, and fortunately, I've been investing a lot on online leads like Google PPC. When did you feel like you start getting that snowball effect, in your business, after investing in Zillow?
Yeah, and Zillow's been slow lately too, to be honest, especially before the news. I saw a change, and I'm like, what do I do? Do I pull out? It's a lot of money that we spend, but I knew that, to our point, a lot of agents potentially maybe leave the business because the market, who knows what will happen. So you want to stay there, you want to stay relevant. Yeah, it can take a few months. I mean, look, Zillow, you're supposed to get leads every month. With Google, I still haven't really seen my return, and I've been doing it for 6 months. I mean, I have a couple of decent leads on the pipeline. I mean, once they come through, that would be amazing. But until they don't going to come through, and until I don't get the check from escrow, everything is up in the air, right? It's just like maybe. Zillow, I tell you, and Zillow is different in every market. In LA, for me, it was less amazing when I started, and in Miami, it's been great because I'm also in a market that people are not here full time and they don't have that local real estate agent. Like they're coming from everywhere, so they're like, oh, let me just go on Zillow. So it's a little bit easier here, but I think you should give it. You really have to be patient. Unfortunately, like every marketing you're gonna do, and it sucks because we spend the money. So if you, let's say, don't want to spend the money, then try to find another creative way to get going, like open houses, networking, social media, because those are all free, to try to get at least a couple of sales, make the money, and then like allocate some of your money out of your income to a budget towards marketing. Well, if it's 5%, 10%, but always like try when you close a deal, not to go around to the mall and buy a Chanel bag or Gucci shoes, whatever. Spend money on your business. But yeah, it can take a couple of months, David, unfortunately.
Thank you.
And Emma, you had a question, yeah.
I actually had a couple. I'm coming up to 2 years. I'm in the Hoboken area of New Jersey, so I'm very close to New York City, and that's where I'm starting to get more referrals as well. And a question that I have, first question I have is, what would you recommend agents, especially maybe newer agents that are less than 5 years, what do you recommend that we stop maybe doing or stop trying to, like, as we always talk about what we start doing, what we should continue doing, but what do you recommend maybe we stop doing that is interfering with our ability to build new business? So that would be, I guess, question number one. I feel like that's a loaded one.
Yeah, so let's get that. Yeah, I would really like try to focus on location and really not be all over the place. You want to be an expert where you know the most, versus like, oh, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. I would say just more focus. And also with buyers, obviously, like we have to qualify the buyers. Otherwise, look, the key in this business is really listings. You know, listings are great. You put your sign, you can do the mailers, you can really market a lot with the listing and get more out of that, and maybe even double end the deal. And I work a lot with buyers, obviously, when I started here, because I had no choice. But buyers are becoming also sellers at some point, but we have to qualify them, making sure they can afford buying. Otherwise, you can just drive around and show them around, and they're not even ready to purchase. They don't understand the closing costs. They think they know. But so try to qualify the buyers. And if you feel like you have a lot of buyers, maybe work with someone or add someone to your business to help you take a little bit of your shoulders. Like, don't try to do everything, because it can be overwhelming.
No, 100%. Do you take people out before? I'm just curious because like I hear mixed reactions.
Yeah, and I'm mixed with that too at times.
Yeah.
I do the initial call. I'm like just asking how long, how soon are you looking to buy? Are you doing financing on cash? If so, and then based on their answer, I can kind of like sense a little bit if they know what they're talking about. And a lot of them said, well, we just started the search, we don't know. Then I try to avoid it. But then again, I was listening to Tom Ferry the other day, and this agent says, I'm taking them always for one showing or whatever, break the ice with them, and then give them the benefit of the doubt, and hopefully you guys connect and they will be qualified. So I agree with you. There are mixed stuff. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I try to understand their goal and their motivation to buy, and maybe send them listings a little bit online just to get the feel from them before I go and run around and waste my time, their time, the other agent time. I hate doing that. But unfortunately, sometimes we potentially have to do it, at least for one buyer that we think they might come through, and we have to do the free trip and do maybe 1 or 2 showings. I wish we charge by the hour. People will respect us a little bit more, like an attorney. Why can't we not do that? But
I know. I feel you. I do the freebie. I usually do like one.
I did, trust me, in 10 years, I did a lot of them. And I regret, I wish I was more strict with that. I don't do buyer's agreements. I know it's highly recommended to do them. I was never comfortable making buyers sign an exclusive buyer's agreement, but I know a lot of people do, and good for them. Really good for them. I just hope that my clients will stay loyal to me, But as you know, in this business, they ghost me also, you know, I'm not special. Yeah, I have the followers, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that they're loyal necessarily. I
Yeah.
wish.
I know. I'm the same way. I don't do the buyer's agreement, and usually it's like my attitude is I probably don't want to work with someone who doesn't want to work with me. So I'd want
Yeah.
the buyer to feel comfortable, and usually they'll stay loyal if they want to. So
And
I-
you know, let me tell you, I used to take it so personal, like, oh my gosh, they don't want to work with me and they ghosted me and what's wrong with me. Now I'm like, you know what? Forget it. Like it's going to be another client. And that's my mindset and that's my attitude.
Yeah.
And I lost clients that I know were decent budget. I mean, heck, I lost a $90 million deal. That's a pretty good commission. I lost that one because it's just like long story short, but it was actually not really my fault. But you lose, you know, you win some and you lose some. And in this business, you know, you might lose your buyer that will work with someone else, but you might gain a buyer that worked with someone else and wasn't happy. So it's kind of like give and take.
I feel that. Thank you, Maya. I appreciate
No
the insight.
problem.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Zach. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. I'm in the New York City market. I just had two quick questions if you have a second. One was, do you ever or have you ever gotten leads from expired listings, and was there a specific thing that you did?
I'm glad you asked me that. Sorry to cut you off because I totally forgot
No.
to talk about that.
That's all right.
So my day starts every day between 10 and 1. I do cold call. And I called expired and I called cancel and I called withdrawal in the areas when I want to focus on. And I also look at the listing history. So yes, I do call because I feel like this is my way to try to get listings. I can't just sit around and wait for leads that comes just because people watch the TV show. It's not going to happen. I got to go and seek the business out. In LA, I used to door knock. I used to door knock a ton in LA. It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone, but I used to do that. And with expired, you know, that's the thing. It's like I have all these scripts book and I've been doing coaching with scripts. I don't have the perfect like speech. I just call and I say, hey, my name is Mara, blah, blah, from Compass. I saw that you listed your property and it didn't sell. Like, are you interested on potentially listing it again? I'm very gentle. I'm not too pushy because they get a lot of calls. I got a meeting last week. And yeah, I will use white pages. That's what I use actually. There are other programs that they can give you phone numbers, but I use white pages. And it's a lot of digging work. Like you have to look at public record, you have to match the address, you have to, that's why it takes me 3 hours, like to literally get maybe 2 phone calls that I actually get the person. And you know, if they say no, they say no. Like I'm fine. I'm like, so today someone told me, well, you know, so many people call me, how can I, you know, avoid agent calling me? I'm like, well, just go on, you know, register yourself into the do not call list. Be careful with that, by the way. Keller Williams just got a big lawsuit with the do not call stuff. I use white pages, I use the public record, and I call them and I dedicate 3 hours. I don't take personal calls. I don't do, I mean, I'm doing the coaching now too because I'm done with my cold calling. Now I can do my follow-up to the leads that I worked with, send them listing, set up showings. If I need to go on a showing, I'll do the showings usually until 4:30 p.m. and then I have to pick up my kids. Oh, you know, look, I try to do it every day, the cold call, but if I have showings and I have to make an exception, I'll do the showings, but really try to dedicate time for prospecting. There is no shame on cold calling. I had a listing appointment last week. Hopefully I'll hear back. I follow up. They didn't reply yet, but it was a good appointment. But you know what? My attitude is like, I tried. I think I did a great job. And if they take me, great. If they don't, on to the next one. Like, you know, Jay-Z's.
Yeah. Great.
So,
okay. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. And then the other question that I had for you was, when you are getting these leads from like Zillow and StreetEasy and you feel like you have sort of started to cultivate a relationship with someone, what are the things that you do to get them off of the Zillow platform and on the Compass platform? Are there certain tools that you?
Yeah, sorry, I see the spoke here. Okay, so it's good for system for like cold call. Yeah, so Zach, so go ahead. So the leads that I got, what system, what was the question?
Are there anything that works for you to get these leads that you're cultivating off of Zillow and on the Compass platform so you can like more monitor exactly like their activity and stuff like that?
And that's part of the reason I really joined Compass. So when I see like all these negative, oh, they're not tech company, blah, 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 they make it very easy for me. So I use the collection. I do collection for clients. I make sure that I don't just set up the automatic collection, but I put like a comment here and there, or I text them even that listing, just so they know I'm engaged. So I think the collection is great. I do email blast. I don't send emails every day. Like I can tell you, like I'm on Ryan Senhard email blast and I get like 5 emails a day and I'm dying to just click unsubscribe. I'm not doing it yet, but I might do it because like I can't. I send emails like every 2 weeks. We did a like real estate update, and you know, Compass have all these like lifestyle stuff and all that. But every 2 weeks, I think it's enough. Every 2-3 weeks, just to stay in people's minds. So I do use their email blast. I do the digital ads, by the way. That's another way that it's expensive, but not that crazy. I didn't really get decent leads on that, but I don't know. I mean, you think people will on Instagram will see your brand and all that, but I tried that too. So I definitely use the Compass. So yeah, CMA, I do collection and email blast. And what I'm going to do also is, you know, the market Snapchat, because people are like, a lot of buyers probably like, oh, we don't know what to do, or the sellers, oh, we don't know, the market is maybe just work on like a customized like market Snapchat through the Compass website that you can click on the zip code. We'll give them like a quick stats, and you can just say something like, hey, John, just want to share that, you know, market update in, you know, in whatever, Bal Harbor, crazy, like three houses are pending, just kind of like personal. So they will think you like really know your stuff, and just share like a little basic data to do it. So I'm going to do that as well. Hopefully nobody's here in Miami, because I don't want them to know my secrets.
But if you add them to the, like, if you get somebody off of Zillow and then you've started to develop a rapport with them, then they, like, you know, we live in, obviously everyone can find their own home now because of obviously technology, but when they start sending you the listings that they want to go see, but they're constantly sending you the Zillow ad instead of the Compass ad, like ultimately you want to put them.
No, you know, because I use a lot of the MLS here. I don't necessarily do the listing or search through the Compass specifically. I use the MLS. I'm just used to it.
Oh, okay.
So it's fine. If they want to send me a Zillow links or whatever, then I have to go and obviously search. It's fine. Whatever they're comfortable with. I'm not too picky with them. I try to set them with the collection, but every person is different. Some of them are not as savvy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't tell them, oh, just use the Compass, like whatever is easier for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys. I guess we're running out of time. So it's my first time. I mean, but because I'm like, you know, like I told like, oh, do Zillow leads, do this. I'm like, oh yeah, code expires. I totally forgot to mention that. But I know it's overwhelming. It's such a like, this business is like such a roller coaster. It's like that, you know, you can close and you can be in a good run, and all of a sudden you have like 2-3 whatever months of dry period, and you're like, oh gosh. I think the key really is like to just be consistent with what you do, and if you see that it doesn't work, then you know you have to pivot to another idea. Or look, if I'm not going to get any return from my Google leads, then maybe I'll stop Google. I don't know, but it depends, or the mailers. But I think it's worth a try at least, and be consistent for the time being, and then hopefully you see results. Yeah. All right, guys. So I guess with that being said, if you have a referral in Miami, remember me, but I'm sure I'll see you because I'm doing those sessions every month. And every month, I think it's going to be potentially a different topic. We still have to figure this out, but yeah, I mean, even a life of a Selling Sunset cast member, it's not easy as a real estate agent. It takes time, and that's just like the reality. It's not as easy as we see on those shows. We don't make that crazy commission. Sometimes we can, it depends. But then we have to give half to the buyers because they want that credit. Anyways, all right, guys, have a great day and good luck with everything. And I'll see you around, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Bye, have a good one.